I was right that the March 2026 balance patch would be a mild update of a balance patch. Am I unreasonably annoyed? Yes! Yes, I am. Am I aware that my annoyance is unreasonable? Yes! Am I gonna tone it back? No, because disproportionate annoyance is funny. This was Games Workshop's last chance to fix all of the things forever for this edition. And they haven't fixed all of the things forever, and they totally could have fixed everything everywhere in every faction, with every points value, every stat, every weapon, every choice, and they just haven't. Terrible edition, 0 out of 10th edition. So they've got to improve things for 11th edition. Ooh. The Tyranid Prime, the Twin Lance, and Stonebrow, the Votan Man have got points now. That's not very interesting, but what is interesting is that the new characters don't lose their abilities when they're not leading a unit. That is something people have complained about since the start of the edition, that it's when leading a unit, the Judicia has fight first. But if he hasn't got people around him, then what, the Temper Mortis Hourglass just stops working? So this could be an 11th edition improvement. I do dislike having to check each ability to see if it still works when the character's alone. Annoying! The Twin Lance is 160 points, which is too low for that profile and the ability to essentially fire their big cannons as a melee weapon. They won't be the last character added that may have low points for what they can do. While this is sort of the last balance patch for the edition, there is also the Eye of Terror campaign book coming out, which will bring in more units with points values and more detachments to break the game. There'll be a mini balance of sorts, or unbalance when that comes out, with yet another Space Marine detachment. It's the end of the edition. There are new things that are going to be made too good to get people to buy them. Balance for this edition will only be on people's minds for a few weeks. Then it will be all about 11th edition's hypothetical balance. Which factions are good, which factions are looking terrible. Let's look at the Imperial Agents! Ho ho! Well, the Imperial Agent Sanctifiers haven't been brought into line with the Adepta Sororitas, so if you play Adepta Sororitas, you can have cheaper Sanctifiers if you take the Allied Imperial Agent version. It saves you 10 points. And Games Workshop made an insulting choice to mention that the Imperial Agent's ally versions are having point changes. I hate you sometimes, Games Workshop. Often. It comes up often, like every balance patch usually. And these are points up, not points down. The Inquisitor is up by 10 points. The basic Inquisitor, the one that is rarely taken as an ally. I take them as an ally because I have a thematic Adepta Sororitas army, with an Inquisitor, like its Codex Witch Hunters. But now that's going to cost me 10 whole extra points. Unacceptable. Inquisitor Draxus is up 15 points. I could never get Draxus to work well. I don't play Custodes. I'm not firing twice with her gun. This doesn't affect me in the slightest. I am very annoyed by 15 extra points on Inquisitor Draxus. And I'm still annoyed that one Battle Sister is 115 points. One model in the squad. Well, at least you can get 1,000 points from one box set. That's something that you can't do anywhere else in Games Workshop land. So the sisters as a whole, we could have had so many points changes to do some internal balancing. And we haven't. The Exorcist remains too expensive. The Retributors are too expensive. Do you remember when the Imagifier got a phantom 10 points drop? No one else seems to. Because it didn't end up happening. They remain too expensive. So it looks like the main competitive way to play is to have lots of Celestian Sacrosancts with Hospitallers. It's not how I like to play. I'm not a big fan of Celestian Sacrosancts. I like other kinds of Celestians. You know, with guns of some kind. But there is good news for the sisters if you take non-sister units that aren't the Inquisitor or Inquisitor Draxus. The Armiger Helverin, the Knight Gallant, and the Knight Errant are a little bit cheaper. The Armiger Helverin is cheap damage 3, and it's annoying for the enemy, as if they get hit by the Armiger, then that enemy unit is -1 to all their hit rolls. I really like the Knight Errant. It's thematic, it has the big melter cannon. Battle Sisters like melter cannons. And the Knight Gallant, the very combat-focused one with the fist and the big chainsword. Having that down 10 points is fine. I don't think I was recommending that as the knight to take. The Genestealer Cult kind of thankfully got skipped over, as they did in the last balance patch. So there's no change to the resurgence points, which is good for the January videos, meaning I don't have to re-script or re-record some videos. There were no changes to the Tyranids, so our very powerful final day detachment remains good. But there have been points changes as far as Imperial Guard allies work, for those Brood Brothers fans. The Rogaldorn tank and the Rogaldorn commander have gone up in points. These are just boxes covered in guns. Going up a few points is not too bad. I prefer the Leman Russ battle tank for those sweet rerolls to hit on all of our weapons as long as you're attacking an enemy on an objective you don't control. And Genestealer Cult are not bothered by the tank commander version. We don't want to pay for the tank commander version because why pay for orders when you're not going to be able to use the orders? And I know that some Guard players will prefer the Leman Russ tank commander over the Dawn. So this is not a problem. This is good. And I am unreasonably angry about it. Over at the Deathwatch and the Space Marines, there's some changes. The points are up on the Lieutenant with the combi weapon. 15 more points, which immediately breaks the army list that I showed off in the last video. That's kind of fair. They're a really good unit. One is taken in like every Space Marine list. They have a reactive move. You pick an objective marker and your whole army gets to reroll wound rolls of 1 against enemies on that objective. He's a character that can infiltrate, he has lone operative, he has a feel no pain. His drawback is he can't be the warlord. Won't Games Workshop consider that minor debuff? But it's especially bad for Deathwatch players. Most unfortunately for Deathwatch players, because we can't take Space Marine Scouts as an alternate infiltrating unit. Now we have to keep using the expensive Lieutenant, or we have infiltrators, but who knows if they can infiltrate. Some of the Primaris vehicles are up slightly in points, the Redemptor Dreadnought's gone up 10 points, and the Repulsor Executioner up by 10 points. Okay, fair enough. They were some of the better units. No points change for Centurions, of course, because they are not one of the better units. And there's no change to the Decimus Kill Team. That hasn't gone down in points. The Veteran Kill Team remains generally the better choice for being slightly cheaper and having far more Thunderhammers and a more versatile loadout. We'll have to wait and see next edition if the Veteran Kill Team continues to have rules, or maybe they'll only have Legends rules, so the Decimus Kill Team may be the only Battle Line unit not in Legends. They might get renamed to the Aquila Kill Team, just to match the Imperial Agents name. The Wardens of Ultramar justifiably have a points increase, 15 points, but that is still 10 points cheaper than the Chaos Masters of the Maelstrom version. I'm angry about that, but good to have a points increase. The Black Templar's Big Templar squad is slightly cheaper. Now you get to go and play the Bastion Task Force. It's fun. Throw waves of battle line models at them, advancing and shooting and advancing and charging and falling back and shooting and charging. And also doing actions. Yeah, it's fun. It's versatile as well. The Chaos have had some minor changes. They have not corrected the base size for the Red Corsairs and the Reeve Captain. Nope. So, is base size important, Games Workshop? Should tournament players be swapping the bases out from what they get in the box to meet this requirement? Or are we not? Or in some people's minds, is base size important, but only the rules for bases that exist in your head, and you decide in your head which base size each model should have, and everyone should stick to that. But that's not going to work. The Renegade Warbands, the ones that are only recently turned to Chaos or generally are just rebelling against the Imperium because they can't use Dark Pacts, they don't pray to the gods, they also are not full of Khorne Berserkers. So you can't use the Chaos Cults to have Noise Marines, Plague Marines, Khorne Berserkers, or Rubric Marines. That's more of a thematic change than any kind of nerf. And the Demon Chickens went up in points, which is good. I mean, it's bad, because now people won't take them as much, and Mind Sidians won't have as good a target to pick. Boo, Games Workshop, boo hiss. The Eldar Wraith units, except for the Wraith Knight, are 10 points cheaper. Wraiths are missing a lot of the Eldar rules, like Battle Focus, and their good detachment, as in good for Wraiths, gives them that. But there's not so much benefit to other units, it's not a great detachment overall. I like that some internal balance has been addressed. I mean, I am unreasonably angry at this. Why should Eldar get anything? So casual players can use them? Why should that matter? The Eldar have been so good for most of the edition. They should suffer and have a worse win rate enforced than Imperial Agents. In fact, there should be a penalty of 20 victory points for playing Eldar. Yeah, but Games Workshop didn't do that. No, bad. Stop defending the multi-million-pound company. For the Dark Eldar, the lesser-taken Dark Eldar units like the Racks and the Shard Carbine Scourges went down in points. This is understandable. I don't use the Homunculus Covens in my Dark Eldar because I've never liked them. But from talking to Archon Skari, these are the units that needed help. And this makes me unreasonably angry. But then we come to the Necrons. Catan, as I mentioned in my previous video, are a problem. People are changing their entire lists at tournaments just to be able to take down 1, maybe 2 Catan. That's influencing the meta a bit too much. So Games Workshop has put the Catan Shards points up, altered necrodermal bindings, and changed what things can affect monsters. In the Codex, the Catan are the only monster keyword units. In the faction pack, there are also the Centipedes. But now, monster keyword units are excluded from many of the Starshatter Arsenal detachment stratagems. The Catan were mostly appearing in the Starshatter Arsenal or the Pantheon of Woe. Pantheon of Woe being the Catan-focused detachment, so that makes sense. Necrosar Amenitar can't affect monsters with his aura that gave them sustained hits if they targeted the closest enemy unit. The Silent King can't give them rerolls to hit rolls and wound rolls of 1, or bonus movement, or reroll to the charges. The Catan have gone up by 10 points on each Catan shard, including the Transcendent Catan, and 20 points more on Necrosar Amenitar. And all of the Pantheon of Woe compulsory enhancements also went up by 15 points. This is a lot of penalties. But is it enough? The Catan shards can still be healed by the Technomancer. His ability does not exclude monsters. Their profile is still unchanged. They can take a massive amount of damage. Still a 5+ Feel No Pain. Still Stealth on the Deceiver. Still Toughness 11. They have a 3+ save, which they don't need because they have a 4+ Invulnerable save. 16 wounds, -1 to all damage. And they regenerate. But at least there will be fewer of them around the table, as they're not as good in Star Shatter, so there's less incentive to take them there, and it's another 25 points per Catan in the Catan detachment. You'll have to let me know if you think Catan will still be changing the meta around themselves as they warp reality, or if this is now totally reasonable, or if they've gone too far and there's been penalties to stratagems and their points and their enhancements and to characters that support them. Is that 4 nerfs too many? Is it 1 nerf too many? That's a matter of opinion. There have been a few other changes to Grey Knights and Custodes, but I don't want to talk about it. Not because it would make me angry, but because I don't care about those factions. So this balance patch has been one of the balance patches that Games Workshop did this edition. Not super impactful, some minor changes, didn't fix a lot of problems that we know as, faction players. If we play the Sisters over and over, we know the Dogmata is too many points or has such a bad ability. And nothing has changed that. So now we look towards 11th edition, which may get announced in 2 weeks' time. Watch out for my live stream of that. You've probably already commented to tell me what you think about this balance patch, and I'll see you in the next video. My darlings and viewers, have an unreasonably angry day of 40k.